This is Ellen from the Astrology Journal. I want to talk about Mars entering Aquarius. So that happened on February 13th, about 1:15 in the morning, east coast of the United States time. It's February 14th today, so it was just yesterday early in the morning or just after midnight that happened. There's a lot going on in this chart, and I'm going to see if I can just pick out two or three things to talk about. So the first obvious thing to talk about is that Pluto already entered Aquarius about a week or two ago. I can't remember exactly when, but so it's sitting at 0 degrees and some minutes of Aquarius. So that means when Mars entered into Aquarius, it's like Pluto's sitting there at the gate of Aquarius, and Pluto represents the underworld, and we can even say Hades. So it's like Mars is entering into the gates of Hades as it enters Aquarius. And so what does that mean? That seems kind of ominous, but actually it's a really, really cool opportunity that's presenting itself to us. So this idea of opportunity is kind of baked into the symbolism of Mars in Aquarius. So Mars naturally rules Aries. And if you count on the wheel from Aries to Aquarius, and we can just do it backwards through the order of the signs, what we get is 60 degrees. And 60 degrees, so from 0 degrees of Aries to 0 degrees of Aquarius is 60 degrees. 60 degrees, when two planets are 60 degrees apart from one another, they are in what's called a sextile relationship. And that sextile aspect is an aspect of opportunity. And so an opportunity, they always say that with a sextile, it doesn't just happen in your life. You have to, first of all, you have to recognize the opportunity, and then you also have to take advantage of the opportunity. So the opportunity is there, they say, but you have to take advantage of it. So this idea of opportunity is really interesting to me. The idea of it being there and needing to recognize it and then needing to take advantage of it. So I remember reading years ago something like the first few pages of a Piaget book, like maybe the first 10 pages, and it was really fascinating. He was talking about how it's like this miraculous or magical thing that happens each time a child enters a new developmental stage. It's like the entire world changes and shifts to meet the needs of the child, like an entirely new world opens up to the child. And so this idea of opportunity is really interesting. Like, so if we factor in development, what's going to be available to us, the opportunity that's going to be there available to us is going to be dependent on where we are developmentally. And if we're adults and there are childhood developmental stages that we're still on some level trying to work through, it may be that some of those opportunities, related to those developmental stages may be what's available to us. So it might be that all of us as humans, might need to grow in terms of our understanding of the different developmental stages to help ourselves become more aware of what opportunities are there developmentally. And of course, it may be that the developmental stage we're actually in as adults is what is opening up, and the opportunities that are related to that are what are opening up to us. Or it could be a combination of those things. So I think that's a really interesting aspect of this chart. There was something else I wanted to say there, but I've forgotten it for now. But for another thing that I want to look at that relates to this idea of development, actually, I wanted to say something about opportunity. So the other kind of way of framing this idea of opportunity, say I'm a 6-year-old kid and I really want to be an Olympic athlete, and maybe I want to high jump. Well, every 4 years, the Olympics come around. But I'm 6 years old right now, and say the Olympics are actually, say it's the winter, and they're going to be coming around in the summer. Well, I'm not ready for the Olympics. The Olympics are coming around. I see them. They're on my radar. I want to do that, but I'm not ready. I can't take advantage of that opportunity yet. I have a lot of things to learn and grow and to develop and cultivate and train and et cetera, before I will be able to take advantage of that opportunity. The Olympics may be coming around every 4 years, and it may be many, like 4 or 5 cycles or fewer, depending on the event or whatever, before I can actually step into that and take advantage of it. So in the meantime, so the other thing about opportunity is like, okay, so there's an opportunity, but where am I in relationship to that opportunity? And what is that thing that's there for me to develop right now? So that's something I want to talk about. So this idea of taking action, Mars takes action. This idea of taking action, well, okay, great, but where, and what action can we take that is going to be the most beneficial for us, the most helpful for us in terms of our long-term development and long-term well-being? So that's a question for me that's worth thinking about when we think about Mars entering into Aquarius. And then this idea of the gates of Hades, the idea there is that we're being, anything that's not authentically us is going to be, there's an opportunity for us to step into a process of allowing anything that's not us to be stripped away. So there is that opportunity for us to do that. And again, I would argue, where are we in relationship to that? If that can be a scary process. Pluto, it can be scary. Fear, there can be a lot of fear there. So where are we in relationship with that? And if we do want to step into our authentic self, where are we in relationship with that? And what is the thing we can do right now to help us move towards that? So Mars ruling as a ruler of Aries, it has to do with who am I? And Aquarius has to do with our unique individuated self. And so one of the questions we may be asking ourselves as Mars moves through Aquarius is, who am I? Like, who am I? Like, not who am I in terms of what role I play, in terms of how others see me, in terms of, how I fit into what's already been established. But who am I apart from all that? How am I unique? What is that unique thing in me that is my light that I can express, that can be expressed through me? That's kind of the question here. So there's this energy around Mars and Aquarius. It's about, can we cultivate the courage to be true to who we truly are? And so it may be that we just have to take these little tiny steps initially, and it may be that awareness or that awakening to that moment of awakening might be, it might not be, the answer might not be fully step into it. It might be if we're there, but the answer might be, okay, so that's the Olympics that I want to go to. Where am I, and what can I do right now to help me tend that, help me foster that, so that I can actually step into that in a way that's not damaging to me. So it's always about where we are and what is that thing we can do right now to help us grow and heal and restore ourselves and come back into alignment with who we are and our unique individuated expression. That Aquarian energy of our unique individuated expression is really important, because from my perspective, Aquarius is both the enlightened society and it's a fully individuated person. And to the extent that each of us can be fully individuated, we can come together Aquarius is also the collective or communities. We can come together in communities or collectives or groups and all contribute our gifts. And to me, that's how we create an enlightened society. So anyway, going back to Mercury, I guess that's a good place to go to now. So Mercury rules Gemini. It also rules Virgo, but I think the important piece right now is Gemini, because there's so much Aquarian energy going on, and Aquarius is the final air sign, the last air sign, and Gemini happens to be the first air sign, and the South Node is in Libra. That's the second air sign. So we have a lot of air element energy going on, so it makes sense to think of Mercury as ruling Gemini in this case. So Gemini is the child. I like to think of it as a child at play. Archetypally, it's our early environment. It's where we're curious. We start to become curious about our immediate world around us, about ourselves, about one another, about the information that's coming to us. We start to ask questions. All of that is coming up. One interesting thing about this Gemini, this age. It's also school age, and this school age, like primary school, that's like from ages 6 or 7 to 12 years old. And thinking about Pluto, and Pluto can be about fear, and it's kind of about the shadow side and the dark side. One interesting thing is I was reading or listening to something recently, and it was talking about how kids at that age, they are naturally interested in like horror movies, like horror things and scary things and gory things. Like they're naturally curious about that. They're naturally interested in that. And I find that really fascinating that developmentally we seem to be wired. I personally don't remember going through that phase, but I've heard that kids at this age like this. So that developmentally it's like we're wired to explore that early in our development. 6 to 12 years old, we're still pretty young. And a couple of things about that. First of all, it opens up in us at a time when we have this, ideally we have the safety and protection of our family and our community around us, so we can explore that in safety. And in that net of safety, or that safety net, we can, so if you think about curiosity, the next sign after Gemini is Cancer. Curiosity elicits emotion. And so as we become curious about these things, the various things like fear or whatever can come up, and we can start to learn how to, with the help of the community, we can start to learn how to process that. And we can start to learn how to process our emotions. So it seems like a brilliant design to me. And then, so at this early age, we get to work through our relationship with the shadow. And so as we move into later stages of development, we're not driven by fear, or we're not reacting from fear. We're instead we're instead acting from a grounded place. We've already established our relationship with our emotions and how to work through things, and we've already worked out our relationship with the shadow side. So to the extent that we've been able to do that work, we are acting from a more stable place, and to the extent that we haven't, we may be reacting more from a more reactive place where we haven't learned to process our emotions. So that's something to think about in terms of this Pluto. And so we're being invited, in a sense, with Mars entering into Aquarius and Pluto right there. It's like we're being invited into the underworld, into the dark realms, into facing our shadow. And perhaps one of the things that might be coming up for some of us is we may not have faced the shadow before, and it may be like, okay, it's time to do that. So how can we do that? What support do we have, and can we build support if we need it? And what's that one tiny step we can do right now, because we don't want to overwhelm ourselves. The other thing to note about this is that there's this Chiron conjunct the North Node, and they're in Aries. So Chiron and the North Node have been conjunct for quite some time now, but in this chart they are both at 16 degrees, so they're very tight in a partile conjunction. And this is, to me, very notable given that Mars just entered Aquarius and Mars rules Aries. So Chiron is the wounded healer. So there's this idea, and the North Node, by the way, is our evolutionary trajectory. So the idea here is that as we heal, we open up a path from the South Node, where if we were stuck in the South Node, by healing, we open up a pathway where we can continue to evolve and sort of come into our own. Aries, who am I? Coming in, and Aquarius, our unique selves, where we can start to come into our own. So it's really about doing the work of healing and getting in touch with ourselves. noticing what's there, awakening. There will be something awakening in us, and so it's about just understanding what that is, what the opportunity is there, and where are we in relationship with that. And given that, what can we do right now? What is that one step we can take right now? And it may be just this tiny little step, but what is it that we can do? And by the way, Aquarius is also goals. So I think that idea of there may be an opportunity that we see, but we're not ready for it. So we can relate to that as a goal and start to, learn a path to sort of start on a path that will help us to realize that goal. We may not know what those steps are. But so one of the first steps might be trying to understand what those steps are. And it may just be, the first step may just be, I don't know, but I'm going to try this, and getting feedback. Aquarius is also it experiments. It's science. It's a realm of science. We experiment, we try something, we get feedback, and then we learn from there, and then we try the next thing. So that may be part of the process too. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. I hope there was something useful in here. And I will leave it there. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen. And again, I hope I offered something worthwhile for you to consider. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.